Paul, we'll start with an update on the squad because it's not quite an injury crisis, but you have lost one or two. Can you bring us up to date with things?
Yeah, it's not an injury crisis. Obviously, we've still got Caldwell missing as well from suspension. But Curtis took a crack on his knee. Initially, I naively thought he'd pulled his hammy the way he was moving. So, in fairness, a bang on the knee's better. They took a few millilitres of blood off it yesterday. Hopeful that he could train today, but he hasn't. So it's no great secret, he won't be available for tomorrow. Tom Barkhausen has tweaked his hammy a little bit, so he'll be missing for a short period as well. So, but on the positive, Didsy's back, fully fit. Corey Smith's got through the game all right. He was one of our outstanding performers, I thought. So, so it feels like we gain a couple back and then we lose a couple, which is a bit awkward. It's not a crisis. We've only got like 3 or 4 injured really, but we have got quite a small squad, so it does have an effect.
We always talk about how the players are physically, but it's a really busy spell at the moment. How do you make sure that everyone is where they need to be mentally, and the work-life balance and all that sort of thing is where you want it to be? Yeah,
good question. Jenko, my head of conditioning, whatever his official title is, he's really good at monitoring all the data, where we want them to be, all their training loads. The mental side of it, it's difficult. Like yesterday, we played Friday night, and I always want the lads to have Sunday off with their families, always, but I can't give them Saturday and Sunday and have just one day because of the injuries. We need to come in and see how everyone is. So I let everyone have Saturday off, and then we were in Sunday. But I'm always aware that on a Sunday I don't want the players in all day. I want them to go and spend time with their families. And I think next month especially, with all the away games, obviously some people will watch this interview and they're super fans who'll come to every away game. They know, the amount of time on the road and the amount of time away from home. So I'll try and, manage the time as best I can. I sometimes have late starts. I know the lads can take their kids into school and that and try and give them as much family time as I can, but fundamentally we're here to win games, and the balance is always difficult. You've got to treat them as a human and as an athlete, and at times, when there's a lot of games in quick succession, the lines get a bit murky. I think is probably the finest way to put it.
Are the wives and girlfriends and partners, are they the unsung heroes of it all, just sort of having to deal with the changing schedule and being away and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, they are. I think like Colo's just had his Mrs. and Little on holiday, and they're back, and it's like, wow, thank goodness they're back. He's a lot happier. So, everyone, you're only as good as the people around you. I say it all the time. Same with the football team, same with, anyone in life. If you're lucky enough to be loved and you're in a relationship, or you've got good friends around you, you have a much better, chance of survival if honestly. So, yeah, the families at home, it might be mums and dads, it might be, brothers and sisters, it might be partners, it might be mates, but like I always say to the lads, I only spend a really minuscule amount of time with them. The first phone call they make when they leave here, for example, let's just say I drop Colo today, the first phone call he'll make is his wife. I think it won't be his agent, although the agents would like to think so, it'll be his wife, and then his wife will say to Colo, hopefully it's your own fault, the manager knows what he's doing. So they're a massive support, as my wife is with me even now, as my kids are, but more so when I was playing, because like I said, they're the one you vent at, they're the ones that you want support from, and they're the ones fundamentally that come and watch you every week.
I wanted to ask you about penalties, although I didn't want to get in trouble with officials or anything like that, but 5 conceded in 3 league games is a bit strange. Are you concerned by it or not?
Not concerned about it. I mean, I'm not like dancing the jig on the side of the pitch. Every time there's an appeal, there's a few things I have a problem with. I mean, obviously Connors was the worst one because, he's a senior pro, but him jumping with his arm above the head, changed the course of that game really. So that's probably the most disappointing. There's a few probably rash tackles. And it's not so much like the penalty at Accrington, the first one, I think, I'm a bit confused about that many games, but the first one, we always say that a goal comes or a penalty comes from 3 mistakes. So it's always, you always highlight on the, the last ditch tackle, but we had chances to win the ball back before then, so that's my frustration. But it is a bit of a problem. But I have not a theory, but I just think that sometimes we're the big club in the games, and I think whether the officials want to prove that they're not swayed by the fact that we're big. I went and watched, it might be subconscious, but I went and watched Sheffield United against Norwich, and Sheffield United got not one decision because the crowd were like, you know, right into the game. It was brilliant. And whether sometimes the officials think, no, I'm going to stand in my corner here and go against them. I don't know if that happens, not intentionally. I'm not trying to say that, you know, something fraudulent going on here. But my frustration is the two of the penalties I've seen, there's been a massive time delay from the incident happening, and I've put that in my report, to the flag going. So, and I've said this all along, that there are going to be penalties that are justifiable. There are going to be, and it isn't an easy thing to do. I can't tell if it is from where I am half the time, but there always seems to be an incident, a player reaction around the referee or whatever, a delay, and then a linesman flag. That is what I can't comprehend. Like, if you see a penalty, why don't you flag straight away? I don't get it. So that's what I don't like. It feels like a couple of them, to me, and only to me, it feels like it's a reaction from the noise and the players more so than what they've seen. If you've seen a penalty, it doesn't take you 10 seconds to realise it's a penalty. You can't rewind it in your head. Like, you see it, like straight away, okay, that's a pen, or I think it's a pen, I'll notify the ref, we'll have a chat, I put it across my chest, we'll have a chat, and the ref goes, no, from where I saw it, it wasn't a pen, okay, goal kick, whatever. So that's the thing that I am a little bit frustrated with, but yeah, we are getting the masters of giving them away, which we obviously need to address.
Exeter on Tuesday night. Before I ask you about them, I wanted to ask you about their old manager, because Matt Taylor took your old job at Rotherham. I was just curious if he spoke to you at all before he did that. Yeah, I spoke to a few managers who went for the job, which I was happy to do, because obviously I want the club to prosper. Now I've left, I'm not that guy. So yeah, I spoke to him after we had a chat with the owner and the board, so to speak. So I spoke to him, and I've left it out there for him that if he ever wants to contact me again, I'm happy to help. Not about picking the team and that's got nothing to do with me, but more about, you know, how the club works and, you know, who the people in charge. Obviously the owner is, but so it's more like that really. I texted him good luck for his first game and that. So yeah, so it's ironic that we play Exeter tomorrow night. How much do managers, and maybe your experience is different, but how much do managers talk to each other? Because I guess you're in competition, but you're also in sort of unique situations. There's not many people that understand what you're going through.
Yeah, I don't speak to loads. There are a few I speak to, not regularly. It's more like after games is really cathartic for us, really, because you're right. I don't know how many is there. 72 EFL clubs. A lot of the managers in the Premier League, obviously foreign. So, but the lower you go down, the more British they are. So they're more keen on having a drink after the game and having a chat. So you really have a good chat then. I think until you've done the job, it's a bit like being the Prime Minister. Like, everyone thinks they can do it. Well, even more so at the moment, but anyone thinks they can do it until you've actually done it. So it is cathartic speaking to other managers. It's not like, you know, I drive home today and I think, you know what, I'm going to phone so-and-so, but there are, you know, I've got a missed call off a couple actually just recently. I need to phone back, but you have so much in your day that speaking to a manager is a bit like a busman's holiday or whatever. It's like you're still at work really. So, but if we now, say for example, I was in Portugal, or Great Yarmouth more likely, and I ran into a manager and had a coffee with him, I'd spend hours with him. But I don't actively go out and hunt them down. So I'm friendly with a few of my friends have got jobs, and I have met a few managers when they've just took over and sort of, you know, they've tried to pick my brain and what I think of this, this and this, and how do I address it when this happens in the dressing room and all that. So, and you definitely learn off people. Like, I really wanted to go, my intention was in the winter break, if I was still in the Championship, was to go to, you know, America and try and get someone who's going to try and arrange that I could go to a training camp in the NFL. And I want to speak to coaches out there, because you can always learn. So speaking to managers is a good thing. Maybe I don't do it as much as I should, or maybe I talk so much that they're too scared to answer the phone if I ring them.
Well, a new manager appointed just this morning, Gary Caldwell. Is he someone you know at all?
Yeah, I do know him. He's really good pals with one of my good friends, Mike Pollett. He was my goalie coach for a while. They played at Wigan together for a bit. Had real success at Wigan. Then he went to Chesterfield. He got Wigan out of League One, and then he went north of the border. So I know him pretty well. I've seen him at quite a few games because he's been in recruiting and scouting as well. So yeah, he joins a club that is in a good place. You know, I was saying to the lads today that they've got promoted. You know, they're scoring goals for fun. I think they scored 24, of which 20 have come from the front three. 14 assists from them as well. So as a front three, they've been excellent, and they're just carrying on the goodwill from last year. In the same way, and I'm not talking about Derby County here, but when you get relegated, sometimes you see teams go down and go down again because it's a hard slide to stop. Similarly, when you go up, you have all that good feeling, everyone's positive, the crowd are happy, the crowd is boosted, they understand it's going to be a bit more difficult, so there might not be as much pressure on the players, and they still, you know, keep performing. And at the moment, they're above us in the league, so we can't underestimate them.
And knowing that you're on the road for the month of November, essentially, how much, or does it put any extra importance on these 2 home games you've got coming up starting Tuesday?
It doesn't, and it does. That's my honest answer. I know it doesn't make much sense, but you always want to win your home games, and anything you can get on your travels is great. Like, you know, I didn't think in possession we were very good at Ipswich, as good as we could be against a really good team, but we weren't as good as we can be. But I always back us in every game, home or away. But obviously, when you've got, you know, 28, 29,000 people, there's an expectancy and a want for us to do well at home. So, you know, 3,000 people might watch us away from home, 30,000 might watch us at home. You have to perform at home. You have to perform. Whether you can't always guarantee results, but you have to play in a way that excites people. So hopefully we can do that. And if we could get back-to-back wins, then it takes us on our travels full of confidence and hope. And I know we've got games in hand and that, but we could end up with 2 draws, and at the end of the season, they could be the 2 points that are crucial. So there is, from my point of view, not the players' point of view, from my point of view, there's always a pressure to win at home, always. I don't want my players to ever play with pressure, but there is the feeling of, like, after these 2 games, it's like we're saying goodbye to Derby. It's like literally we're going on tour. So that's what it feels like. We're going to play in America for a month. So yeah, to win these games is like important but not imperative, I think.